Hey everyone. Before I dive into this story, let me take you to a night that cracked my heart open. For 12 years, I poured my soul into a marriage I thought was woven with love, trust, and shared dreams. I believed I knew my husband, the man whose laughter warmed our home, whose touch promised forever. Then, in the quiet of a sleepless night, with his breath soft beside me, I uncovered a secret that shattered everything. What happened next wasn't about rage or revenge. It was about finding my strength, about rebuilding a life that celebrated me, not the lies I'd lived with. Stick with me, because this story is raw, real, and will hit you right in the soul. Drop a comment to let me know where you're watching from, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. This one's going to stay with you. My name is Sarah Bennett. I'm 39, a freelance illustrator living in Portland, Oregon, in a creaky Victorian house where the front porch swing groans under the weight of summer evenings, and the garden bursts with roses, their velvet petals dripping with dew at dawn. I'm not one for grand gestures. I find joy in the hush of my attic studio, where charcoal dust coats my fingers, or the clink of wine glasses at game nights with friends. But if there's one thing that's always defined me, it's my faith in love. Growing up in Portland's misty suburbs, I watched my parents craft a life of warmth. Mom's quilts draped over armchairs, their threads catching the glow of lamplight. Dad's burgers sizzling on the grill, the smoky aroma mingling with his stories of adventure. That's the love I craved. And when I met David at 27, I thought I'd found it. David was a burst of sunlight with a laugh that echoed like wind chimes and eyes that sparkled like the Willamette River at dusk. We met in a coffee shop, the air thick with espresso and rain, bonding over a scratched Fleetwood Mac vinyl. By our second date, I knew he was my home. We married a year later, under a drizzle-soaked tent, vowing to dance through every storm. For 12 years, we built a life, buying our Victorian, chasing northern lights in Iceland for our 5th anniversary, dreaming of kids who'd inherit my sketchbooks and his love for music. Every year, we marked our anniversary with a dinner at home, the table draped with Mom's quilted placemats, their faded stitches soft under candlelight. David's hand warm as he poured Pinot Noir. But last fall, a discovery in the dark of night tore that life apart. Our marriage wasn't flawless, but I thought it was true. David, a marketing manager, worked late, his briefcase stuffed with campaign notes, but he'd come home with a kiss that tasted of mint gum and stories of quirky clients. I kept our world alive, roasting garlic for pasta, planning hikes, sketching whimsical foxes for children's books, the scratch of pencil on paper, a steady rhythm. I'd slip doodles into his briefcase, a cartoon of us dancing, a rose in bloom, and he'd bring me roses from the market, their petals silky, their scent heavy with summer. But a year ago, a shadow crept in. David grew distant, his eyes locked on his phone, the screen's blue glow casting sharp angles on his face. He'd stumble in late, his jacket carrying a faint whiff of jasmine perfume I didn't wear. His answers curt. "Just work, Sarah," he'd snap, his voice like a slammed door. "Don't make it a thing." I tried not to. I told myself it was pressure. His firm was pitching a major client, deadlines piling up. But the distance deepened. He'd skip our game nights, the living room silent without his laughter, and cancel hikes, leaving my boots muddy by the door. When I reached for him, he'd pull away, his words sharp. "You're suffocating me," he said, his voice slicing through the hum of the dishwasher. I swallowed my pain, blaming myself for clinging too tightly, and poured my heart into our home, ironing Mom's placemats until they gleamed, baking lemon bars that filled the kitchen with citrusy warmth, hoping to draw him back. But the cracks widened, and I felt him fading, like a sketch erased stroke by stroke. Last September, as our 12th anniversary loomed, I planned a dinner to mend us, to rekindle the spark we'd lost. I invited our closest friends, Leela, my art school confidant, whose laugh was like a summer storm, Ben, David's coworker, who framed my sketches for his office, and Emma, our neighbor, whose rose garden rivaled mine. I wanted this night to remind us of our vows. But a week before, David was a ghost. He'd whisper into his phone in the backyard, the grass crunching under his shoes, and I found a dating app notification on his lock screen, quickly swiped away. "Wrong app," he said, chuckling, but his eyes flickered, avoiding mine. My stomach churned, but I clung to hope, arranging roses in a vase, their scent a fragile anchor. The night before our anniversary, sleep wouldn't come. The bedroom was heavy with the patter of rain on the roof. David snores soft beside me, his phone glowing on the nightstand, its light slicing through the dark. Something pulled me to it. Instinct, maybe, or dread. His passcode was our wedding date, a bittersweet key, and when I opened his browser, my breath caught. There it was. A dating profile on Tinder. Dave, 40, seeking adventure. Life's too short to settle. The photo was fresh, taken in our backyard, the roses vivid behind his grin. His bio listed our shared loves, vinyl records, rainy hikes, but erased me, his wife. Messages piled up, flirty notes from Jess and Megan, one reading, "Excited for coffee tomorrow, Dave?" I sat frozen, the phone's cold glass burning my hands, rain drumming outside as tears scalded my cheeks. The roses on the nightstand, a gift from David, mocked me, their petals curling in the dark. "Sarah," I whispered, my voice cracking, "how did you not see?" I thought of our dinners, our dances, the placemats I'd set with care, now stained by lies. I wanted to shake him awake, scream, hurl the phone across the room. But I didn't. I set it down, my heart pounding like a trapped bird, and slipped to the porch swing, the creak of the chains blending with the rain's soft hiss. The garden's roses swayed, their scent sharp in the damp air, and the weight of betrayal crushed me. But beneath it, a spark flickered. Not fury, but resolve. I couldn't let this break me. I had to reclaim my life, my heart, my worth. I didn't confront David that night. I sat on the porch swing, the rain's chill seeping into my skin, clutching a rose from the garden, its thorns pricking my palm, its scent a mix of sweetness and earth. The betrayal wasn't just the profile. It was the life he'd crafted in secret, the lies threaded through every touch, every smile. I pictured the women he messaged, the coffee he planned while I arranged roses for our anniversary. I could have left, burned his records, exposed him to the world. But as dawn broke, the roses glistening with mist, I heard Mom's voice in my soul. "Love doesn't shatter you, Sarah. It builds you taller." I had to rise, not for David, but for me. So I decided to host a new beginnings party, not to celebrate our marriage, but to honor the woman I was, the artist, the friend, the dreamer, surrounded by those who saw me whole. I wanted to reclaim our anniversary, to fill our home with light, laughter, and the scent of roses, to prove I was enough. The next morning, I sat at my kitchen table, the air thick with the bitter tang of cold coffee, and started planning. I chose our backyard, where the roses bloomed in riots of crimson and blush as the setting. I made a list: grilled salmon with lemon zest, berry cobbler warm from the oven, iced tea infused with mint, and a playlist of my heart's songs: Fleetwood Mac's husky melodies, Norah Jones's velvet croon. I called those who'd anchored me: Lila, whose sketches danced with mine; Ben, who'd mourned Mom with me; and my brother Nate, whose hugs smelled of cedar and home. I didn't tell David. He'd left for work that morning, oblivious, his kiss a faint brush on my cheek. "Dinner tonight, yeah?" he said, smiling. I nodded, my heart a stone, but kept the profile secret. This party was for me. I sent invites to my friends, calling it a celebration of new beginnings. Bring a story, bring a spark. I spent the day cooking, the kitchen alive with the sizzle of salmon, the sweet burst of berries, the clatter of Mom's quilted placemats on the table. I hung fairy lights in the backyard, their golden glow weaving through the roses, and set a framed sketch of a rose beside a photo of my parents, their laughter frozen in time, their quilted warmth a steady guide. I wore a white dress, its hem brushing my ankles, a rose tucked in my hair, its petals soft against my scalp, a symbol of my rebirth. The party was set for our anniversary evening, the sky awash of peach and lavender, the roses heavy with evening dew. I stood in the backyard, my heart thudding as guests arrived. Leela brought deviled eggs, their paprika dusting the air, her hug tight as she whispered, "You're radiant, Sarah." Ben carried a bottle of Pinot Gris, its cork popping with a soft sigh, his grin warm. "This is magic," he said. Nate squeezed my shoulder, his flannel shirt rough, his voice low. "You're a force, sis." Friends from work, book club, and church filled the space, their chatter blending with the rustle of leaves, the air rich with mint and lemon. David arrived, his suit creased, confusion clouding his eyes. "Sarah, what's all this?" he asked, his voice sharp. I met his gaze, my voice steady, the rose in my hair catching the light. "A party, David. For me. Stay or leave, it's your call." The night bloomed like the roses around us. We savored salmon, its lemony tang bright on our tongues, clinked glasses of iced tea, the mint leaves swirling, and danced to dreams under the fairy lights, their glow flickering like fireflies. Friends shared stories. Lila about our late-night art marathons, paint smudging our cheeks. Ben about how I'd sketched his dog after Mom's death, easing his grief. Nate about our childhood capers, stealing roses under moonlight. I stood, my voice trembling but clear, the rose's scent grounding me. "This isn't the anniversary I planned," I said, holding up my framed sketch, its lines bold. "But it's the one I needed. Tonight's for me, for the woman I am, the woman I'm becoming. You see me? And I'm so grateful." The crowd cheered, Lila's eyes brimming, the air electric with love. David stood at the garden's edge, his face pale, his phone dark in his pocket. Lila leaned in, her breath warm. "Want 'em gone?" she whispered. I shook my head, my voice firm. "Let 'em see." When Norah Jones's "Come Away With Me" drifted through the air, I danced alone, my dress swirling, the rose in my hair a soft weight, the fairy lights casting shadows on the roses. I felt alive, not David's wife, not a betrayed shadow, but Sarah, whole and radiant. As the night closed, Emma's daughter Sophie ran up, her sneakers scuffing the grass, offering a crayon drawing of me in a rose crown. "You're so happy, Miss Sarah," she said, her voice like a bell. I knelt, tears spilling, the paper crinkling in my hands. "I'm learning to be, sweetie," I said, my voice soft. Thank you. And in that moment, I knew I'd done it. I'd reclaimed my anniversary, my heart, my life, under a sky woven with stars and rose-scented air. The next morning, David found me in the kitchen, folding Mom's placemats, their quilted threads catching the sunlight, the air heavy with the nutty warmth of brewing coffee. "Sarah," he said, his voice raw, like gravel underfoot. "We need to talk. I saw you last night shining like I've never seen. You know, don't you? About the profile." I set down a placemat, the rose still tucked in my hair, its petals curling, and faced him, my eyes stinging with unshed tears. "I found it," I said, my voice trembling, the words sharp as thorns. "Tinder? Dave? Seeking adventure? You were planning coffee with strangers while I was here, loving you, setting our table. 12 years, David, and you erased me for a fantasy. How could you do that to us?" He sank into a chair, his face crumpling, tears glistening like dew on his cheeks. "I'm so sorry," he sobbed, his voice breaking like a snapped branch. "I was drowning, Sarah. Work, pressure, feeling like I wasn't enough. The profile was a stupid escape, a game. I never met them, I swear. I love you. You're my everything." I laughed, a bitter sound that echoed in the quiet kitchen, my heart raw. "Love?" I cried, tears streaming, the coffee's bitterness sharp in the air. "Love doesn't hide, David. Love doesn't write 'life's too short to settle' while I'm sketching our future. I gave you every piece of me, every dinner, every rose, every dream, and you traded it for lies. You broke my heart." He reached for me, his hands trembling, his voice desperate. "I broke us," he said, sobbing, his words heavy. "Seeing you last night, so strong, so alive. You're everything I'm too weak to be. I don't deserve you, Sarah, but I want to fix this. Therapy, honesty, anything. Please, don't let me lose you." I crossed my arms, the rose's scent faint but steady, my heart torn between love and pain. "I don't know if I can trust you again," I said, my voice cracking, tears warm on my cheeks. "You didn't just betray me. You betrayed our life, the vows we made under that tent. I'm not the Sarah who waited, who hoped. I'm choosing me now, my heart, my light." His shoulders shook, his voice a whisper, raw and pleading. "I see you," he said, tears falling. "You're radiant, Sarah, stronger than I ever knew. I was a fool, and I'll fight for you, for us, if you'll let me. I love you, always." I thought of Sophie's drawing, the roses in my garden, their petals defiant in the rain, and softened, but my resolve held. "If we try, it's slow," I said, my voice steady, the placemats soft under my fingers. "Therapy, truth, no more lies. But I'm not waiting for you to save me. I'm living, David, with or without you." He nodded, his eyes grateful but pained, his voice choked. "I'll do the work," he said, his words fragile. "I love you, Sarah. Thank you." He left, the door creaking shut, and I stood in the kitchen, the silence heavy but not suffocating, the coffee's warmth curling in the air. Over the next weeks, my community held me close. Lila texted, "You were a goddess last night, Sarah." That party was pure light. Nate sent a vinyl of rumors, writing, "You're a storm, sis." Ben called, his voice warm, saying, "You showed us courage, Sarah. Bold, beautiful." Each message was a thread, weaving me back together. David started therapy, sharing session notes, leaving his phone unlocked, but I kept my distance, needing space to breathe. I joined an art collective, sketching roses and rain-soaked skies, the charcoal smudging my hands, my heart finding its rhythm again. Sophie's drawing stayed on my fridge, its crayon lines bright, a reminder of the love I'd grown. 3 months later, David asked to meet. We sat at a coffee shop, the air sharp with roasted beans, steam curling from our cups, the rose pin on my jacket glinting under the morning light. He looked worn but clear, like a canvas scraped clean. "Sarah?" he said, his voice thick, trembling. "Therapy's been hard, but it's showing me why I ran, why I lied. I felt small, not enough for you, for our life. I broke your trust, and I'll carry that shame forever. I want to earn you back, to be the man you loved." I studied him, tears pooling, my heart soft but guarded, the rose pin cool against my chest. "David," I said, my voice breaking, the coffee's bitterness sharp on my tongue. "I loved you with every breath, every sketch, every rose. Every dinner was for us. You chose a lie over me, and I had to learn I'm enough alone. I'm open to trying, slowly, honestly. But I'm whole now. I'm not waiting for you to complete me." He reached for my hand, his fingers trembling, his eyes wet like rain on glass. "I see you," he said, his voice cracking, raw. "You're radiant, Sarah, a light I dimmed. I don't deserve you, but I'll try every day to be worthy. Thank you for this chance." I squeezed his hand, a fragile thread, and smiled, tears warm on my cheeks. "It's not a promise," I said, my voice soft, the coffee's steam curling between us. "It's a start." We began with small steps, coffee dates, therapy sessions, moments where we laughed, tentative but real, the air light with possibility. It wasn't the love I'd dreamed, but it was honest, messy, and ours. That dating profile, that betrayal, shattered me, but it also set me free. It taught me that love isn't just vows, it's truth, courage, choosing yourself when someone else chooses lies. I stood up for Sarah, not to break David, but to honor the woman who sketches roses, dances under fairy lights, and blooms through any rain. As I sit here now, Mom's quilted placemats folded neatly, their stitches catching the sunlight, I feel her whispering, "You're enough, Sarah. You always were." This story isn't just mine. It's for anyone who's faced a betrayal, who's felt their heart splinter, but chose to rise, to bloom. Share your story in the comments. How did you find your strength after a heartbreak? Your voice matters. Thank you for listening, and I hope to see you in the next story.